I do not like Neon Genesis Evangelion. I watched through the original series, the end of Evangelion movie, and some of the YouTube video essays on it, just to make sure I understood it, and I do not like it. Anyway, here's the plot. Go watch an explained vid about it, because I'm probably going to miss some stuff. I'm not trying to write an essay of any kind. So, there's an ancient race of space aliens that was facing extinction, so it sent out seeds of life across the galaxy. Each seed contains a soul of one member of the ancient alien race. While each planet was supposed to only get one seed, Earth ended up getting two, named Adam and Lilith. Lilith crashed on Earth first, which they called the first impact, which created humanity. The second impact is when Adam blows himself up after he's awakened and tries to kill all the life created by Lilith. And the main story of Evangelion takes place in a post-apocalyptic world after the second impact, which destroyed a lot of Earth's population. And the story follows Shinji. He's recruited to pilot a mech by his dad, Gendo, after he comes back from getting the milk and cigarettes from the store. Shinji pilots a giant mech, a biomechanical Evangelion known as an EVA, to fight angels. Angels are just life created by Adam to fight against Lilith's life forms. And eventually Rei and Asuka are introduced, each come with their own baggage. They're all really annoying. And the three loser pilots fight angels in mechs. And the series initially focuses on battles between angels and mechs piloted by these kids. And it eventually shifts and moves to looking at each of the pilots and their messed up psyches. Shinji struggles with abandonment and self-worth and needs validation. Rei confronts an existential identity and tries to find purpose, and Asuka has a lot of anger and insecurity she has to deal with. And central to this entire narrative is the Human Instrumentality Project, which is created by Shinji's dad and the council called SEAL to merge all of humanity's consciousness into one singular existence. And that's supposedly to get rid of individual pain and suffering. And so in the finale, the characters confront their own deepest fears and problems in a very abstract psychological sequence, which kind of gives a really ambiguous conclusion about Evangelion and human connection, self-acceptance, etc. And in the movie, the end of Evangelion, it kind of changes the ending from the original series. It depicts the third impact as a cataclysmic event where all of humanity and all the human souls dissolve into one collective consciousness, it becomes a juice. It's really weird. Evangelion is one of those really complicated animes where it starts to delve into really abstract concepts and philosophy, and you can really find yourself in a really deep rabbit hole, and you can keep digging and digging, and you'll keep finding more stuff. On the surface, it's a story about a kid who wants to be accepted by his only family and becomes one of a few child soldiers in a war to save humanity, and all he wants to do is get his dad's approval to fight some other weird monsters with a bunch of annoying teenagers piloting mechs. And then if you go deeper, kind of explore character psyches and psychology, right? Asuka becomes a commentary on militarism, and Rei's character questions the nature of humanity, and Shinji is all about nihilistic escapism. And all of this happens in front of a backdrop of a war between angelic beings who are separated to prevent the birth of a god, and then there's a secret conspiracy to unite them, and it's just too complicated. The original show is horrible at explaining most of the lore, and I guess I am as well. So, the show is supposed to be mentally challenging, only cerebral people can understand the deep intellectual complexities of this anime, but to me, it's so boring. It's so boring, and I don't really understand why people really like it. It starts interesting, while early episodes hook you with apocalyptic stakes and thrilling mech battles with these weird monster things called angels. The entire story and narrative goes from 100 to 0, around episode 14. Scenes of characters just staring at walls and cycling through repetitive internal monologues, and they seem to engage in a circular way of thinking. Emotionally opaque conversations just kind of dominate an entire episode. Shinji's endless self-pity, I can't pilot the robot, or Asuka's super abrasive tirades, and Rei's super robotic detachment. It's all super exhausting to watch. Rather than being something that is deep or meaningful or something that I can get something out of, it was just really boring and tiring to watch. Like, it is rough. Having a slow and stagnant story doesn't make it deep, even though it's like trying to be something introspective. I actively felt like I was wasting my time due to like the lack of narrative momentum or character growth. The characters are actually the worst. I mean, they're supposed to be, and this is what makes me hate Evangelion like that much more. Like, the characters often feel less like people and more like cases and case studies in misery and depression. They all have trauma. Like, Shinji's got abandonment issues, Asuka's really mean, and Rei has existential crises all the time. And all of these things are like reiterated over and over and over again without any resolution. Because of this, like, the relentless focus on their suffering becomes super monotonous and kind of reduces their arcs to just sadness and despair and doesn't amount to anything. While mental anguish is central to the story, the series rarely offers moments of levity or connection or catharsis to offset the depression, and it becomes super repetitive. Just like all the mech battles with the angels, those also become repetitive. So there's no thrill, there's no excitement anymore, it's just really sad and really boring to watch. And I hate how they kept the ending really obscure and vague. Like, instead of resolving all the plot threads, it becomes like a surreal, avant-garde introspection, like leaving me a bunch of really random imagery like Rei's giant head and strange metaphors, congratulations, as a substitute for closure and ending. Like, what could have been an interesting artistic statement feels more like a cop-out and a refusal to reckon with the story's own complexity. Evangelion demands patience for delayed payoffs that never actually happen, and it substitutes psychological torment for genuine character development for some reason. It has themes of loneliness and self-acceptance, and that'll resonate with some people, but other people like me will find it really boring and repetitive. It honestly feels like I'm being lectured on human condition rather than actually being engaged in an entertaining show. But that's also probably because I am being lectured. And you might be saying, you don't understand EVA. Nah. You don't understand EVA. You see all that? The long-winded explanation and critique of Evangelion? It's cringe. Instrumentality, Seal, Atom, that is all unnecessary. Evangelion, it's not that deep. All the symbolism is there because the writers thought it was cool. Nothing makes sense because the whole show is just a passion project for Anno's really elaborate and expensive therapy session to get him through his own depression. It's not that deep. At least it's not supposed to be that deep. Everyone on the internet has made it deep for some reason. Hideaki Anno was depressed and just needed an outlet to express it. That outlet just so happened to be a beautifully animated show with good cinematography, a boring, overanalyzed anime about mentally ill teenagers occasionally piloting mechs. If I wanted to watch something that isn't supposed to be deep yet can be viewed and interpreted as such, I'd just watch Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. Gurren Lagann accomplishes everything EVA sets out to do, but better. While EVA masks a depressing therapy session with deep lore and pseudo-intellectualism, Gurren Lagann is aware of its absurdism. It's aware that nothing makes sense, and it embraces it. Trying to explain everything is cringe, and if it doesn't work, just punch it, and if it still doesn't work, keep punching. I'm sure there's a bunch of videos analyzing the differences between the two and the similarities, like go watch those. I'm just here to talk about why I like Gurren Lagann more than Evangelion. Gurren Lagann takes place in a dystopian future where humanity is forced to live in isolated underground villages. It's dark, lifeless, and really, really depressing. The story follows Simon, a digger. Like, his job is to take a drill and try to expand the village by digging through the ground. And he's kind of like Shinji, like sad, depressed, shy boy. And then his brother figure, Kamina, he's the GOAT. Think of a mix of Onizuka from GTO and Josuke from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Kamina dreams of reaching the surface and leaving this underground darkness. So one day, Simon finds a mysterious drill-shaped key and a small mech called Lagann. Subsequently, a giant mech called a gunman falls through the ceiling of their underground village, along with Yoko, a female character, and then they have to fight this giant mech using Lagann, and after they defeat it, they make their way to the surface. Once they get to the surface, they form Team Daigurren, a ragtag group of rebels fighting the tyrannical Beastmen and the Spiral King. And this all happens in like the first two acts. And the third act is when Team Daigurren learn of an ancient race called the Anti-Spiral. They have to fight them and defeat them in order to save all of humanity. Gurren Lagann is simple. Something about the simplicity of it really hits. There's really not that much lore, there's no real deep symbolism that needs to be studied. Like, sure, there's the history of humanity and the anti-spirals, but there's not much beyond that, and it's all explained in the show. And the only symbolism is the drill, which is used over and over and over again. And everything in Gurren Lagann can be explained with spiral energy, or spiral power. It's essentially willpower and fighting spirit. Having enough spiral energy will let you do literally anything. How do two completely separate mechs randomly combine? Spiral energy and fighting spirit. Stuck in a pocket dimension and need to dig out through space-time? Just get out using spiral energy and willpower. Like, this philosophy of spiral power and spiral energy is Gurren Lagann's power system. The physics of the world work on and are bended by willpower and this spiral energy. With enough of this, you can do the impossible and see the invisible. There's no scientific reasoning behind it, and it doesn't make sense, but it's hype as hell. The drill being a symbolism for everything from DNA and the structure of the galaxy to human evolution and the indomitable human spirit. The drill motif symbolizes the strength to challenge or drill through tough and insurmountable obstacles and insurmountable odds. And Gurren Lagann is hype. From its first episode, Gurren Lagann rockets forward. It's all gas, no brakes. Simon and Kamina piloting a gunman is so entertaining. The explosions, the moves, calling out your attacks, a mech with sunglasses. It's all so absurd and over the top, and it's so cool. It never gets boring. The characters in this show are sick. Like, Evangelion's characters are sick, but Gurren Lagann's characters are sick. Simon's evolution from like a shy, timid kid to a great leader mirrors the show's themes of growth and self-belief. Like, he goes through some hard stuff and he gets depressed too, but he eventually like picks himself up and moves forward. Kamina's bombastic bravado isn't just a comic relief tool, but it's a manifesto against resignation. He's the symbol of the indomitable human spirit versus the cruel indifference of the universe. Yoko, she's smart, competent, hot. She has good chemistry with the other characters. She actually adds to the story, and her romance with Kamina works well and actually makes sense. The characters make it enjoyable to watch. The story moves and it doesn't slow. The characters actually grow and change over the course of the series, and because of this constant motion, the show never feels like a slog to get through. It's never a chore. The show never feels stuck because, you know, that's how a drill works. All you gotta do is listen to Libera Me from Hell. You'll understand. The feeling that comes from seeing a bunch of people staring up at an infinitely powerful enemy where all hope is seemingly lost, then saying, nah, I'd win. And through sheer fighting spirit, piloting a mech that is nested in more mechs, making a mech nesting doll. The final being 5.29 billion light years in size, to then, through the manifestation of the indomitable human will, go even further beyond. Ever evolving, manifesting Super Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, which is 215.45 billion light years in size, and punching the anti-spiral in the face. So, I don't like Evangelion because I think it's boring. It was actually tiring to sit through and watch, and it didn't feel like it was going anywhere, which I think is the point of the anime. But Gurren Lagann, it's hype, and I really enjoyed watching it. Gurren Lagann entertained me and actually made me feel something. There's something about Gurren Lagann that gets me every time. It could be the colorful and bright animations, the explosive and over-the-top action sequences, the characters and character interactions. It's all good. Evangelion is a boring mess. I understand why you'd like it. I'd probably like it too if I were a sad, depressed broke boy. But if you're feeling that way, why watch Evangelion? Maybe I'm just a caveman-brained troglodyte, and the message is just that simple with Gurren Lagann. If you're depressed, if you got a lot going on, you probably just need to get mad. You just need to get punched in the face. So in the words of Kamina, let me see you grit those teeth.